So Lizeth and Alan, while we're waiting for Dawn, why don't we go ahead and Alan, you can provide an introduction for us if you don't mind, and then Lizeth, you can walk us through the agenda that we're hoping to cover today. And then if Dawn isn't able to log in just yet, we can do an introduction, just a brief introduction, and by then I'm sure the technical difficulties will be resolved. If not, I can walk through the project updates for Dawn through from our end. But really today's focus is rather than a formal presentation like we've had the past couple of RESC meetings, we're hoping to really focus in on that roundtable discussion and allow you time to share your projects and your ideas. Okay. So can we do it that way, Alan?
Sure can. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It's probably 11:30 or close enough to that. Welcome to the RESC second quarter meeting. Basically bring everybody up to speed, and Lizette and Grant will go ahead and take over from this point. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan, and thanks everyone for joining us today. As Grant mentioned, we don't have a formal presentation today. What we wanted to really provide was an update on our EDA planning grants and projects, and then some updates regarding our EDA Cares program. So projects in the pipeline that we have, as well as what we've been doing with our communities and what that's produced. And then the focus of today's meeting is really right? So we want to get a sense for what projects you guys are interested in working on, what's in the pipeline for all of you, and if and how we can facilitate any processes that you might be looking to get started or move forward. And that's really our goal here. So without further ado, I don't know if Dawn's joined us quite yet. It seems we're still having a few technical difficulties. That's kind of the common thing nowadays, right? Unfortunately.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and have everyone, if you don't mind, just taking a quick second. I know most people know each other, but we can introduce each other or introduce ourselves. And Lizeth, if you don't mind, kind of doing that as a roll call, sure. And then, make sure we know everyone here. And then I'm happy to walk through the project updates, but I'd really like you to hear it from Dawn. So we'll try and buy ourselves another 3 or 4 minutes.
For sure, for sure. So first on my list is Janice.
I am here from the town of Middleborough, Director of Economic and Community Development.
Great, thank you. Lyle?
I am Lyle Perny from North Attleboro. I'm the Housing and Economic Development Coordinator.
Great, thank you. Mary Ellen?
Sure, Mary Ellen DeFrias. I'm with Mass Development and I work in the Community Development Division.
Great. Alan, not that you need an introduction.
Alan Slavin, Selectman of the Town of Wareham, SRPEDD Commissioner.
Thank you. I have Ben Myers. I think he may have some difficulty. That's okay. Bill Roth?
Hi, I'm Bill Roth. I'm Executive Director of the Office of Economic and Community Development with the City of Taunton. And I'm also a SRPEDD Commissioner.
Great, thank you. Cody?
Morning, Cody Haddad, Director of Development and Grants for the Town of Dartmouth.
Great, thank you. Eric?
Sure, Eric Arbini. I'm a Principal Comprehensive Planner here at SRPEDD.
Thank you. Helen?
Hey everyone, I'm Helen Sincavage. I'm the Assistant Director of Environmental Programs at SRPEDD.
Thank you. Jay?
Hey guys, Jay Patikas, Mass Development, Business Development. Sorry for the camera off. I'm driving and no one needs to see that.
Great, thank you. Leanne?
Hi, Leanne Bradley, Town Planner for Middleborough, and I am also a SRPEDD Commissioner.
Great, thank you. Paul Foley?
Morning, everybody. Paul Foley, Director of Planning and Economic Development for Fairhaven.
And last but not least, Philip?
Hi, everyone. My name is Philip. I am a Principal Comprehensive Planner at SRPEDD.
Great, thank you. I think that covers our list. Some people were kind of moving up and down. I'm not sure if it's a connection issue, but I think that covers us. I'm Lizette Gonzalez, by the way, in case anyone isn't aware. And Any updates on Dawn, Grant?
Yeah, so he's still trying to work it out, but I'm gonna work through the slides. The good news is we don't really have a thorough presentation that he was going to give, just a quick update on our planning efforts. And then, as I said at the beginning, I'm hoping to pass it over to you and have just an informal roundtable discussion. And then I'm sure at the third quarter meeting, we'll have another featured speaker, as we did with the representative from the U.S. Rural Development Administration last time. And then previous to that, I think it was us talking about our CARES Act work program. So yeah, let's just dive right into the update from SRPEDD, and then we'll go to this. Right, so under the standing USEDA planning grant, we have several projects underway, many of which you've already heard about. Focusing in on Somerset, we have a really good news to share about the recently executed intermunicipal agreement for wastewater services, wastewater district. All of that just came to a conclusion and is closing out. That's our first bullet point there. So that intermunicipal agreement really is fantastic and opens the door to economic development in neighboring Somerset, or excuse me, neighboring Swansea along the Route 6 corridor. And we'll talk a little bit about that when I discuss the projects in the pipeline. The next bullet point also in Somerset are the water and sewer upgrades, construction beginning this spring, next month, for a total project cost of just over $1 million. In nearby Mattapoisett, we have the Industrial Park roadway, that's Industrial Drive. Construction is beginning again early summer, late spring. That's an interesting project that aligns with a shared use path efforts that are ongoing through the town and through various other grant sources. That's approximately $1.5 million total project cost. I'm sure many of you read about one of the largest awards in the state in recent memory, the New Bedford Port Authority North Terminal. That's a pier project, land creation for economic development and for offshore wind staging, large project, total project cost of $20 million there. And that construction will get underway this summer. So those are our sort of standing projects. Lizeth, is this for you? Yeah. Or is this me? This is me, okay. So there are, under the CARES work that we introduced to you in August of 2020, we have several projects in the pipeline. There's a large D&E project for Fall River Industrial Park, Mothers Brook sewer line. That's again just over $1 million. We expect that award in May, with design and engineering beginning this summer. Paul's here, so I can defer to Paul if he'd like to speak about this, but we have an interesting redevelopment feasibility study similar to the Deacon's School project that we completed last year in Wareham. But in this case, looking at a broader corridor, looking for economic development and reimagining that corridor. That application is in process, although the town, we did award just under half of that to the town under our District Local Technical Assistance 2021 work program. So that application is in the pipeline. Paul, did I accurately describe that? Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, that's a good introduction to it. We can go into it more later if you want.
Absolutely, good deal. Yeah, so and then the next bullet point, similar, the intermunicipal agreement with Somerset really did open the door to another growth feasibility study where we do a thorough existing conditions analysis. We look at scenario planning and talk about all of the benefits and costs and the indicators that come from that. We dive down deep into site design, think about feasibility in terms of financial feasibility, in terms of action items that might need to take place, program participation, infrastructure investments, zoning changes. So that work that we did in Wareham, we will be doing in Fairhaven, we hope to do in Swansea as part of this Route 6 feasibility study. And then Helen, I won't cold call on you, but Helen is our project lead here. looking at a very broad regional resilience plan, some of which would be funded under DLTA. We have a grant application in the pipeline for the regionalization and efficiency grant of the Community Compact. And then some would be theoretically coming from the Economic Development Administration to really take a holistic, full approach to economic, social, environmental, and governance resiliency at the regional scale, kind of a long time coming look at regional planning. And then I think this is you, right, Lizeth? Yeah, all right.
Yeah, thanks. So clearly we have a lot going on with regards to projects and there's a lot of exciting things going on. I wanted to take a second to focus on the other aspect of our CARES Act program, which is outreach and really connecting opportunities to our communities. So over the course of the program, and since we last spoke from the last RESC meeting, we have about a total of 18 requests, grants, expressions of interest across a variety of different programs. And that's EDA, Shared Streets, which has come to a close, Community One Stop for Growth, and thinking about CDBG when it opens up at the end of this year. So just to give you a sneak peek at some of the projects that have been completed and applications in addition to the ones that we can start thinking about now, even if they aren't necessarily open for applications, but scoping them out is a really important process as well. Award highlights, we partnered with Middleborough to submit a Shared Streets and Spaces Award, project grant, I should say, and they were awarded $228,000 for sidewalk constructions from their downtown to platform, which is a significant recreation site for them. So we're excited to see that come to fruition at some point within the next year. And then moving forward, we worked with a number of communities to draft up expressions of interest for the Community One Stop for Growth. The official application will open up in May. And even if we didn't work together for the letter of interest, we're open to discussions to start drafting that application if that's something your community is interested in pursuing. And as always, it's our goal to reach out and work with as many of our communities as possible across a wide range of economic development initiatives. So please feel free to reach out to us. We are doing as much as we can to reach out to you. So please feel free to connect with us. And with that, I do want to transition into that member roundtable that we discussed. Part of it is, keeping our ear to the ground and seeing what your communities are interested in pursuing and what you're working on. And as our little graphics there show, collaboration can lead to a lot of growth and learning from each other. So with that, I'd like to open the floor to anyone who's interested in talking about their community.
Okay, let them know.
May I suggest that we start with our friends and colleagues from Mass Development? I see Mary Ellen pasted a comment. Maybe you guys can provide a little update from your end, and then we can go into our cities and towns.
So I can provide an update on the One Stop. We had a total of 59 expressions of interest submitted from the South region. We have 74 communities, so we consider that a pretty good turnout from down here. I don't have the total project number, but I know several of them. I feel like I was reading lots and lots of projects. So all of them were reviewed by a panel, and if you haven't gotten feedback, you will be getting feedback. I will say kudos to those communities who got them in early because they got their feedback already. If you sent it in on the last 2 days, we have not finished compiling the review comments yet. So you probably won't hear anything till next week. You can go in and look at the applications now. And I believe you can even start them. You just won't be able to submit anything before May 3rd. So from May 3rd to June 4th will be when the window is open for you to submit your applications. And as someone who has a couple of different projects in it, Mass Development is available to talk to communities up until May 3rd. They've asked us to stay neutral as of May 3rd because we will end up as final reviewers on these applications.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mary. That's super helpful. I know we have a lot of communities excited about the potential projects that they can submit. So we heard a lot of interesting and hopefully successful proposals go through.
Yeah, so Dawn, I see you've made it in. We've gone through the EDA update, the planning update, the CARES update, and we've started our roundtable. Is there anything you'd like to add before we dive right into hearing from the cities and towns?
No, I just relative to the Swansea, the Somerset planning project. The IMA is the most critical part of that whole endeavor. There was 4 components to it: the master plan, the integrated wastewater management plan, and the ED plan. But the critical component, the one that really has the legs for ED for that whole area, is the intermunicipal agreement for sewer service between Somerset and Swansea. So that's going to allow Swansea to really develop the corridor, the Route 6 corridor. There's hundreds of acres along the corridor, principally between the 195, Interstate 195 and Route 6 itself. So, you know, we're looking to put a lot of EDA resources in that area relative to initially a feasibility study. And then, you know, in terms of what's happening in the private sector, with people now realizing there is an agreement for SOAR, you know, it's going to be sort of like the Wild West out there relative to development potential that's going to occur. So the first thing that we're going to attempt to do is get some EDA money and some other funding to do a feasibility study, and then hopefully tap the line in Somerset and bring it down the spine of the corridor. And as we go, the town will determine they have other priorities for getting into areas where there's Title V issues and whatnot. But the principal, you know, line will run down Route 6. So, you know, it's the IMA is a big part of that. Without it, we wouldn't be moving on to the next leg. And also the IMA sets precedent for 138 in Dayton as well. So if Dayton decides they want to tap into water and sewer in Somerset, then the IMA is something that sets precedent for that. So there's a lot of opportunity that's going to be on both ends of that, of Somerset relative to ED opportunities. So that's pretty much it at this point. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Great. So I think I saw Lyle raise his hand for our first roundtable.
Yeah, we received yesterday the expression of interest feedback. Thank you for those evaluators who were involved. We submitted 3 projects. They were all, we were invited to submit grants for all 3 with the stipulation that 2 of them are in the, what's the category, planning and zoning. And it was suggested we submit 1, so we will. And then the other category that we're going to submit an application for is site prep. At the risk of jumping the gun and spoiling surprise, we've already established a meeting with Lizeth and Eric Orbini for 2 o'clock this afternoon to talk about us getting started on those. In addition, during the month of May, we're going to apply for an FY22 Destination Development Capital Grant. That program was just announced yesterday. So an article in the Boston Herald, as a matter of fact, that's what made me think about it. And in addition to that, we're applying for an EV charging station grant to put 8 charging stations in parking lots at the high school in North Attleboro. So those are the things that are going to consume my time and several of SRPEDD's employees' times during the month of May.
Paul, would it be okay for me to cold call you now? Would you like to talk a little bit more about Alden Road?
Sure. So we did submit an expression of interest. Sorry, Marilyn, it was kind of at the end, but we had 5 projects. They were maybe a little too broad, but number 1 was this Route 6 240 redevelopment study, which we've kind of divided into 2 parts, really. North of Bridge Street, which is the industrial area and more conducive towards EDA priorities. So our local EDC has put $6,000 towards it, along with our fiscal year 21 municipal assistance hours. And I believe we've been approved for the DLTA match, so that we're hoping we'll be able to get the EDA, and that will be looking at, development scenarios and different market conditions and site conditions on the industrial side, the north side of Bridge Street. We also had a grant that's still active from the Community Compact Best Practices for more of a mixed use. So south of Bridge Street, we'll be looking more at mixed use office and housing, residential above retail. So we're still looking at that area. We also got a site readiness grant, which is going to be looking at some of the environmental issues in that area. That's going to specifically look at a few specific properties. And we've heard rumors. We also have a couple of deals that have come and gone because of contamination from years past. So we'll be working on that soon. We had a couple other projects in on the expression of interest. If we can get back to the Alden Road, if you want to talk more about that. But I've been working with Eric and Lizette, and they've been great so far. I look forward to, hopefully we'll do all right with the EDA on that. Some of the other projects, actually, Mary Ellen, since you're here, one of the projects I probably should have put in my expression of interest, because we did have $1 million in on the transportation bond bill to redo Bridge Street between Route 6 and 240, which goes right through the middle of this Route 6 240 redevelopment study area. And one of the reasons I didn't put that in is because I'm waiting for the planning to be done on either side before we kind of look at a mass works in there, because that's really a main spine through town that needs improvement. There's a lot of different ideas in there. The police and fire looking at a public safety facility right on the corner of Route 6 and Bridge, and then where the Walmart is, that's going to be a target area. We're considering possibly a 40R overlay in the kind of plaza areas south of Bridge Street. So we're going to need some improved infrastructure in there. Let's see, what else is going on? Well, there's always a lot of things going on. One of the other projects we put in for the expression of interest, we have to upgrade our sewer treatment facility to be able to treat a higher rate of nitrification. So we need to denitrify. We also have issues with we have a very old collection system that's old clay pipes, which allows a lot of infiltration into the system. So it dilutes the wastewater, which means that apparently several years ago, I'm sure Bill Roth could tell us more about this. We have a digester that's never really been put to work, or wasn't put to work for a long time. Part of the reason is there was that dilution of the sewer water because of infiltration from rainwater. So one of the things we put in for was a comprehensive stormwater and water management study, partly based on talking to the consultant who said, that will help us get lower interest grants, but it's also good to just know exactly what's out there and how we can deal with that. So that was another piece of our expression of interest. Another one was Benoit Square, which SRPEDD did a study in 2016 that was very helpful, and we took one of your recommendations was to make that area mixed use, which we rezoned that mixed use. But now we want to tackle it's really a kind of a crazy old New England confluence of roads that wasn't built for cars and trucks and higher speeds, where Main Street and Adams Street come together at Benoit Square, which is this kind of nice little urban pocket in the middle of our town, or on the edge of our town. But it's a really kind of a neat neighborhood. And actually, another project Bill worked on, I'm sure, was the Oxford Residences, which was an old school that's going to be 52 residential apartments for people over 55 is coming online soon. We're working with a gentleman who bought the Bijou Theater across the street. And so he's going to be applying for the underutilized properties program individually, but we really want to work on that traffic confluence. I got a few ideas, but I think we need to get some money to have an engineer come up with some plausible scenarios on how to make that more pedestrian friendly and not so dangerous for cars. So those, I don't want to take up too much time. If you want to talk about any more of these further, I got a couple of things going on, but those are kind of the main things going on with planning and grants. And we have a bunch of bylaws coming up soon, trying to get a short-term rentals bylaw through, and a few other things, community impact fee. I guess I'll pass it on for now, unless anybody has any questions or want to talk anything further.
Awesome. Yeah, jump in. Lyle, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to jump back in. Several things I forgot to mention, kind of in the stream of consciousness mode today. SRPEDD is helping us with a new master plan. Be very neglectful because I didn't mention that. We're well underway with that process, thanks to Eric and some of his staff. Also, a little off the point, if anybody's interested, our planner has resigned, and our assistant town manager is retiring at the end of June. And both of those jobs are posted on the town of North Attleboro website, if anybody's interested in applying. That's it. Thank you.
Bill, I see your hand is up.
Yep. Paul, it sounds like you've been very busy. I'm glad that they're forwarding some of those projects that were there when I was there. I know your pain with the planning board, by the way. So enjoy that. But here in Taunton, one of the exciting things that we're getting ready to do is that the mayor, our Taunton Redevelopment Authority, which did a lot of good work over the years, sort of kind of has faded somewhat, and previous mayors, some had not been reappointed, members not reappointed and restarted. The O'Connell administration is moving forward with reappointing and more or less reviving that. So that's one of the things that we're getting ready to start, and we'll be running through the OECD office, will be the Redevelopment Authority. I know one of the letters of interest that we submitted for the One Stop was looking at urban renewal plan. We took a look at what was done years ago, and especially with the downtown, and they accomplished just about everything. Just very few things weren't done. So we really want to look at focusing in the Whittington area, which is in the north, which Whittington Mills, whenever it gets ready to redevelop, would be in that 400 to 500 unit range with mixed use. So that's going to be a quite significant potential development and an anchor. It's an anchor property for looking at our redevelopment, urban renewal. And then we're also going to look at the Ware with some of the older mill buildings and underutilized properties. So those are the kind of two target areas that we're looking at, moving forward with. So it's really the big thing is reviving the Redevelopment Authority and getting that going again. So, and then I'm working with SRPEDD. Hopefully we're going to do in their regional, in their unified work program, which would be a long-term project or several years, is a corridor study from 24 all the way up 140 or County Street to the Green, which I'm excited with. I think Grant's kind of excited too. It's got a lot of opportunity, and with the potential development, the mall redevelopment, which is probably about a 1.1 million of distribution warehouse, and then on the opposite side, now that the Mashpee Wampanoags have the ruling against them becoming a tribe, or taking that into that is now looking. It looks like the future. That area is going to be extremely busy between a potential casino and a huge warehouse distribution area.
That's a really interesting corridor, potentially very interesting, comprehensive look at it. It's such a hot mess, but lots of potential, lots of interesting problems to solve. Anyone else? Do I see, Janice, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I didn't know if you were putting the hand up through the screen or an actual hand up here.
Either way is fine.
But I couldn't find it on the screen. A strange crossroads right now with Middleborough. As you know, through the seeds, the document that you've created, SRPEDD has created as to where we are EDA eligible for EDA assistance, is one of our industrial parks further up north off of 28. And we found that as we've been approaching this 40R zone overlay that we're working with SRPEDD on, that we need to redirect our focus to the downtown more so than to this industrial area that is really hasn't been taken advantage of in the decades. It's hard to build on the land, there's restrictions. And so we're looking at trying to refocus our efforts to the downtown, which is a whole new approach in our sewer plan and in where our funding wants to be targeted for economic development. And I think this is going to be a discussion that maybe we will have with Don at some point as to how to redirect perhaps some of that EDA funding to these areas that we've identified locally as being a high impact, high economic development interest area versus the industrial parks. So I just wanted to put that out there for future possible conversation as far as the strategic planning, capabilities and focus of the downtown more so than the industrial parks for our development. We have applied for, we've put in 5 expressions of interest. I think we've gotten some good feedback on 3 of them. Most of those are right in the downtown. Our old police facility we're looking at a reuse possibility for that. And also a development of a sewer system off of 105 to help support our 40R overlay zone, should that move forward. We've also gotten an LPP grant or LRRP grant, which is our local recovery grant from the Downtown Initiative for Mass Development. And we're working with our planners from the state in order to revitalize the downtown through that grant. We should have a project ready to go by the end of the summer through that grant and through their assistance. And hopefully it'll be something that'll help fill some storefronts and get some arts and culture going on in the downtown and get some movement in our community. We're also working on a branding initiative. So we're looking at hiring a professional firm. We're in consultation and talks right now with hiring a mostly national firm, I would say, to try to re-identify what Middleborough is, who we believe we are now and future, as we continue to experience growth through the state and through train stations coming in and more people moving here who can't afford Boston, who actually commute to Boston, although I don't know if they commute that much anymore, but we're getting a lot of activity here in Middleborough and a lot of growth. So we're trying to, again, get feedback on who we are. It's kind of, we're at a cusp of change and a cusp of growth. And we're working with every possible funding source and every possible professional we can identify and work with to implement some sort of change, some sort of revitalization of Middleborough. We're very dedicated to doing that. And again, looking at every possibility that we have to do that. I did have a question about your CDBG, and I don't know if anyone here in the group can answer this. Does the CDBG, is it targeted to one specific type of economic activity where we might take advantage of it in a different capacity than we're already taking advantage of CDBG, which is restricted to micro enterprises?
No, I don't think it is. It's not targeted to a specific type of business. Is that the question?
Yeah, we had a small allocation, a small grant that we received from DHCD, and I guess the two questions are if that grant that you have is available to communities, is it available to communities who haven't already got an allocation from the state?
So what's the grant you're referring to?
Your CDBG.
Well, the CDBG, there's a bunch of different grants on the CDBG. What, Community Development Fund or what?
The one you're offering, CDBG.
Lizette, do you know what
So
that
I can clarify a little bit. I know there was a lot of talk about when the CDBG applications would open. And Eric, if you want to jump in, feel free. We had expected it early in this year, I believe, but that just didn't take place because of the pandemic. So we're not offering anything through CDBG like as SRPEDD. We're just offering assistance in scoping out projects for it, in writing applications. So that's kind of our role in that. We're not offering anything
for the communities.
Yeah,
okay.
We were working with one town and they wanted to apply into the Community Development Fund. And that was originally going to happen in March. April was released. For some reason, COVID related, I'm sure, it got pushed back to November and December. So that's how we were involved in that. So if anybody's looking for the Community Development Fund, it's been, the application's been delayed until later in the year. But following up on what Lizette said, we can help with, any type of economic development applications, activity, that sort of thing. So.
So Janice, what are you specifically thinking about that you look to CDBG for? What is it that you?
As I mentioned, we got an award from the state for $90,000, but the state, they get the money from the feds and then they put it out as they want it to be put out, and they're only assisting micro enterprise businesses whose owners are low and moderate income.
Yep.
And that's really difficult for us to find here in Middleborough. I don't know why, but it is. So we're not getting a lot of activity on that. It's very restricted to those folks.
Yeah.
However, CDBG in general has a lot more other ways it can be used. It could be in hiring a low income, worker, and that meets the qualifying low income requirement. So I'm wondering if there was flexibility through the CDBG program. I'm not sure where you're getting it from, directly from the state or from the feds.
No, it's passed through. It's federal money passed through to the state. It's competitive.
Okay, so you're getting it through, you're getting it through DHCD then?
No, we get it. It comes through the feds, but it goes to the states, and the state allocates it to a competitive process through the CDBG program. It's federal money that comes into the state.
I'm aware.
Right, and it's farmed out to communities that apply and have high levels of distress.
Okay.
The
So you're
low
not getting any directly.
Main factor.
My
Got it.
understanding is that there's a broader criteria, and we can discuss that and research that a little bit further if you'd like to do so. We'd be
Okay.
happy to do that with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm familiar with what Janice is talking about a little bit, but I think maybe we have an offline conversation to kind of dig into it more. But I think it only applies what Janice said to folks who have meet certain criteria, which can be hard to find and locate. But getting to the larger point, if anybody does have a CDBG question, we don't have CDBGs, but we can help you navigate that process with the state who receives that allocation from the federal government. So there's a lot of different ways you can go with that, but we're here to help you in any matter that.
Thank you, Eric.
Janice, you guys looking at the cultural district designation?
What's that?
Are you looking at the cultural district designation, that program?
Yeah, I'd love to get to that as soon as I have a minute.
I see Alan has his hand up.
Good afternoon. In Wareham, we have several zoning articles basically to allow the Wareham Village 1. We have 2 blocks of buildings that look like they're going to get sold over the next few months. We're trying to turn around those buildings so they face the water, and also get what we call controlled gate crossings over the railroad tracks. So we have a plan for a boardwalk running right along the water as well. Try to revitalize the downtown area. We have one piece of property, which is called the Baker property, which has been sold just recently. And we have a development going in there, which will have a restaurant, ice cream shop, and we'll have like a venue for having weddings, etc., meetings. It's the first step really to revitalize the inner harbor in Wareham itself. We also have the piece that Grant did for the Deacon School property. We're unfortunately mulling back and forth between 2 or 3 different groups wanting different ideas from what was originally proposed. So there's a fight basically going on. I'm not sure how that's going to end up, but hopefully we'll come up with something that works well for everybody. We did have an interesting project called basically an entertainment center zoning possibility, for a piece of property off of Route 2025, almost in the Plymouth Wareham area. The O'Connells, who own the Granite City Links and also Marina Bay, etc., have put a P&S on a piece of property that was a sand pit gravel removal, about 275 acres. They originally were trying to get a modified version of a Class 1 casino license, which really is off the table now that the Wampanoag Indians have been given tribal status. They were also talking about doing a horse track, a baseball stadium, etc. We'll see what's happening. The problem is we went to town meeting. They went ahead and with the Wareham Redevelopment Authority came up with a plan for an overlay district, which is about 700 some acres. It basically caused a lot of the conservationists to get all upset about the pine barrens, etc. And we went to town meeting about a week ago, and we broke a record for town meeting attendance. We had 1,200 people show up. We filled the football field pretty good. The actual vote, which made me really overjoyed, was 141 for, 813 against. So we got soundly defeated. And of course, I'm running for selectman in the next 2 weeks, so I'm sure that's going to help me quite a bit.
So back on the Deacon School really quickly. So, I mean, I think one of the main takeaways from that study was not only that there was a clear demand for that type of space in the marketplace and really good site in terms of infrastructure and so that there are those takeaways, but there's also the fact that that site is so big that it can support multiple futures. So if there's, any takeaway message that I would hope that both sides of that debate would have in the back of their minds is you guys don't have to fight about this. You can probably have your cake and eat it too. You're replacing a very active use in the school in terms of trip generation and water and sewer usage with less active uses in many ways. So the sewer and water and roadways are already up to the task. Very few, if any, constraints on the site. So, finding a site for senior housing or for a ball field, or that's fairly easy to do relative to finding a site that's so good for that type of high value economic development that has a clear connection to the marketplace right there next door at the Smithers Vizient site. And so anyway, they're not mutually exclusive. You guys could hold hands and work together and get both things done probably.
You've never tried to work in Wareham before.
Oh, 10 years.
We don't
like you, but
we don't hold hands here.
I hear you. Yeah, well, let us know. I mean, let us know if there's anything else we can do to help.
Yeah, we're trying. We have it's pretty divisive right now. People just aren't working together, but we'll get it there one way or the other. Smithers, just so you know, is about to become one of the few recognized lab testing facilities for marijuana, in addition to the water testing. So that's another piece for them as well. And there's also land on the other side of the railroad tracks, which we thought might be a station. There's actually two pieces. One is a Bliss property, the other one Duffy. And there's quite a few acres of land there as well.
Yeah.
And of course, we have the mall, and we have actually 2 or 3 different, fairly large retail centers there now. So the center of Wareham is becoming West Wareham now. We will get there eventually, but it was kind of disappointing for what I thought was a good 40-year plan for economic development with that entertainment center, and to see us get defeated as badly as we did. People were more concerned about saving some trees that really weren't going to get saved anyways, long term, versus what, the stability of the town, the idea of, just being able to produce revenue so you could not just maintain, but bring back a lot of services that we've all had to cut back on.
Right.
Very short-sightedness, but it's what we got. We had people from Maine all over the place came and put money in against the campaign, against the article. It was amazing. So what you think is easy to do in life turns out you never know who's going to come after you. That's my good news and bad news.
I think we have 5 or 6 more minutes. Anybody else have anything to add? I think I might have seen Lyle's hand up again.
Just a second, I had to unmute myself, sorry. We're talking about development in the downtown and restaurants and bars and so on. If you're not aware, the SBA just released a new loan program for restaurants and bars, which it's applied to directly through the SBA. As you know, it doesn't pass through the state. And it's worth looking at. It's pretty generous. And we're just now circulating it to all the bar and restaurant owners in our downtown in hopes that anybody who's still in financial difficulty will take advantage of it. And CEDD has also posted some information about it. So it's, in my opinion, it's worth looking at.
Oh yeah, I get the card.
Yeah, I've got one more thing, Grant, which Alan kind of reminded me of, because I live right near downtown Wareham, and I think I've always wondered why those businesses don't turn around and face towards the water. That could be really, I mean, it's not too bad right now, but it could be so much nicer down there. But another question, in just terms of economic development, I've always thought they should keep running, since we have Middleborough and Wareham here. And I'm all for the train coming to New Bedford, of course. I'm in Fairhaven, but why don't they just keep the train going from Middleborough to Wareham down to the canal, at least, if not Hyannis, not as just a tourist. I know they do it now as a tourist thing, but as a commuter rail. I mean, I think it would connect the whole Cape Cod. You could then connect Wareham to New Bedford, to Fall River, and Providence through a rapid bus. I just think that would be a good way to go.
Just a quick answer for that one. I've been working 7 years on trying to get this done now. It's nowhere near as old as the South Coast Rail at 37 years, but there is for some reason, the Cape Cod Commission was put in charge of doing a study. Wareham and Middleborough are involved, although they haven't contacted us at all yet, about basically the Cape Fly route, which would stop in Middleborough now with the new station change, and would come down to Wareham and also Buzzards Bay Bourne. The question is whether or not they'll try to go to Hyannis because of the synchronization of the railroad bridge with the canal traffic, etc. Most of us that are involved have recommended to stop at Buzzards Bay. It requires no expense whatsoever. Everything's in place. The rail is already certified for 60 miles an hour from Middleborough all the way to Buzzards Bay. And it's something that is, it's so easy to do. We have Representative Strauss and Representative Gifford working pretty hard on this whole program, but there's no guarantee because of the CIP program. South Coast Rail was only funded for the phase 1 program, which that spur, which is the old colony spur, was never included, but we lobbied pretty hard on it, and at least they're considering it, but we're not even going to hear anything till probably June or July as to whether they'll actually consider adding that to it. So it's part of the reason why we wanted to control gate crossings for our boardwalk on that side as well. And with the change in the zoning, we'll be able to probably put buildings as high as 50 feet up to take advantage of the views and everything there as well, going back over that river and everything.
I just wanted to clarify that the station you're talking about is the Lakeville station. I know they say Middleborough, but the Cape Flyer, I believe, is going to be coming out of the Lakeville station. And then there's the new station that's going to be built in Middleborough. So
Yeah,
I want to differentiate between those two.
Yeah, I understand, but the Middleborough station is where we will basically, that's how we would get the train coming through. Because you get the two, you have the two platforms on each side.
Going south, right.
Yep. So we'd come up, basically our line would come up into that spot there, do the transfer and meet the other, one of the other two trains.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer.
It is, that's why it's so hard to get it done.
Yeah. At least go to
South Coast Rail's only taken 4 decades.
Like I say, I've only been at this 7 years, Bill, so it's like it's a baby.
I know. Grant, one thing I forgot to mention, we have a unique program. We were awarded an Urban Agenda grant, and we created what we call Step Up. I have to give my grant coordinator, he needed the Urban Agenda, wanted a name. It's called Sales Technology Efficiency Professional Upgrade. And we got a grant from Urban Agenda to help out minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. We are providing them with point of sale options. It's for businesses, predominantly restaurant. It was geared mainly towards restaurants and service businesses, but the grant will allow us to come in and pay for POS systems, computer website upgrades and design, and social media. So and we're getting we got like 35 applicants, and I think we're going to be able to help about 15 to 20 in various things. And it's you know, the max award is probably in the $5,000–6,000 range if you did all 3, and it's a small amount of money for a huge impact for you know, like a small restaurant here downtown that has, you know, an inadequate website, no social media, and hand writes the stuff with a cash register. It's a game changer for several of these businesses. Short money, huge game changer. It's been overwhelmingly popular.
Well, we're at 12:30. Lizette, Alan, Don, any final thoughts?
Nope, just thank everybody for stepping up and participating. It's a lot of us have Zoom meetings on top of Zoom meetings. It's not easy these days. Hopefully we'll see everybody at the next quarter.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. It's exciting to hear everyone's projects. And I just want to highlight that on the screen there, our next meeting, save the date for Wednesday, August 18th. I'll send something out well before then. And in the meantime, if you hear from us, let's coordinate on projects and keep things rolling. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Be safe, be well.